What's a big industry secret that isn't supposed to be known by the general public? Like the video and subscribe right now and I'll show you a picture of Jesus Doggo. I work at a hospital in an area where there are lots of hospitals. Our ER has an EMT lounge with free slushies, soda and snack food, so the EMTs choose our hospital when delivering patients. If you get in a car accident and your insurance tries telling you that you have to or that you should take your car to a specific repair facility to get repaired, tell them to go fist themselves. You have no obligation to any insurance company or repair facility. You can take your car to any body shop you like to have the repairs done, and it's against the law for insurance companies to tell you that you can't. However, they often use tricky wording to make you feel like you have no say. Especially if you're a woman. Source: estimator and parts manager for a body shop. Customer service text chat can see what you're typing in the box before you hit send. Relative of mine was a mystery shopper and did a lot of car garages. He would get sent in with a car and had to get it serviced and reported on how well it was completed if they found all the faults, if the customer service was up to scratch, etc. The results were usually 6/10, until suddenly every garage was a 10/10 continuously. He investigated as it was a bit suspicious and found Ms. Mystery Shopper written on the bottom of the car he was given. One of the garages sussed him out and wrote it there for future garages to find and make sure they have it the best possible service. TLDR, write Ms. Mystery Shopper on the bottom of your car when you get it serviced to ensure it gets the best service possible. Edit. This generally refers to large car garages such as Skoda and C to work on their own model cars for their customers. Going to your local mechanic round the corner, he isn't going to expect a mystery shopper anytime soon. It's more the corporate garages who hire MySares. McGraw-Hill makes practically every textbook allowed in America's school. At the end of every year they throw away the tens of thousands of books for the tax write-off because it's going to a recycling plant. I am talking textbook for K through 12, college books of every type, teacher editions, and class sets of short stories and books for kids in process of learning to read. A normal textbook costs a school $60 to $80 a pop, but they throw enough away to educate every child in Africa. When I worked at the recycling plant I wasn't allowed to take them because it was considered illegal to distribute them. I truly lost all hope for the future of humanity after that, and quit my job. The place they're sent to is called Medina Recycling in Eni, Ohio. I seriously wanna find a way to make this big news and trash McGraw-Hill over it. It is also a 2-month period that is Medina Recycling's largest contract for profit. Edit. Sorry, the company name is McGraw-Hill. Edit 2. I know I said end of the month, but with a lot of new information coming to light, I realize that I can't do this sloppy or it is either going to get me in trouble or it'll be swept under the rug. Probably going to get a Kickstarter going on this so I can get around and talk to other schools and McGraw-Hill associates in the tri-state area, along with creating a huge list of newspaper and media outlets to be notified all at the same time. This is going to be more work than previously thought. Please message me up if you can offer help. I attended a songwriting workshop at Berklee School of Music, and Anna Wise, Grammy-winning songwriter, Kendrick Lamar collaborator, told the audience during a presentation that whenever someone magically blows up on SoundCloud or YouTube, that it's not authentic. A label will sign the artist in secret, and then suddenly boost their viewership tremendously to make it look like the independent artist did it on their own. I mentioned this in my post. Also, there are some clever tricks out there to make artists seem more independent than they are. The band Paramore was first signed to Atlantic, one of the biggest major labels ever, but their albums were released on indie label Fueled by Ramen in order to make them seem more punk or DIY. This was literally the post I was going to make. That's what happened with Fall Out Boy, and they realized how well that model worked, so they used it around Panic at the Disco, Paramore, etc. Free On Board was essentially signed to FBR and then Atlantic bought most of the label, releasing TTTYG under it to appear indie. Paramore is a much more interesting story. The label actually only signed Hailey. They then realized she would make more sense in a band, got the band back around her, and then pushed them on FBR for the indie appearance. This is all when Vinny of Less Than Jake, FBR founder, left the label. He was going to do basically a tell-all in alternative press, but it never came out. There's a lot more to it, of course, but that's the basic Cliff Note version. Source: I know the owner of a once extremely huge pop punk label in the early zeros. Edit: this clearly blew up, and a lot of people seem to have questions. You're more than welcome to PM me if you'd like. And TTTYG refers to Take This to Your Grave, Fall Out Boy's first label album. A bottle of Windex is basically 95% water, 4% ammonia, and 1% blue dye fragrance. The most expensive part of the product is the bottle. The fresh chocolate chip cookie scent that can be smelled outside of the Magic Kingdom bakery is artificial. It's piped out there to draw you into the bakery. They're called Smellitzers. They're like targeted scent cannons. Disney also cranks the AC up in the shops in the winter time, so it feels colder than it actually is, and you think to yourself, man, I better get that Mickey sweatshirt or I'm gonna be freezing all day. They also do things like generate sounds and plant trees or place buildings in specific places to keep all the lands separate. So if you're hanging out over in Adventureland and you look back, all you'll see is jungle and all you'll hear is jungle sounds, even though Main Street is like 10 feet away. On a related note, the entrance at Disneyland is specifically designed so that you can't see the park at all until you enter the tunnel. If there's one thing Disney does well, it's playing with people's senses to create immersion. The first time I walked into Magic Kingdom I was with my wife and daughter. The second we turned the corner and saw the castle, my daughter squeezed my hand and said, "Thank you, Daddy." It is truly magical. That being said, it is crowded, it is hot and it is expensive. But there are ways to bring the cost down, especially if you bring your own breakfast. All the rooms have fridges so you can save cash there. Limit your souvenir packages. Staying on site gives you discounts on admission. We usually do 8 nights 6 park days and it works out to be less than $1,500 not including airfare, meals and souvenirs. My sister was on The Biggest Loser. Jillian and Bob were there 2 maybe 3 days a week. They make it seem like they live there. I was a contestant on The Biggest Loser. This is a fact. We mostly spend our days working out by ourselves, or with sub-trainers that the celebrity trainers send in. Edit: took her sister's name out of my comment. Not my place to throw that information out there. If you get involuntarily bumped from a flight you can get paid out 200-400% of the flight's cost back depending on how late you get to your destination. If this happens to you they'll offer you a bunch of vouchers, but be persistent and they'll pay you out. If the airline arranges substitute transportation that is scheduled to arrive at your destination between 1 and 2 hours after your original arrival time, between 1 and 4 hours on international flights, the airline must pay you an amount equal to 200% of your one-way fare to your final destination that day, with a $650 maximum. If the substitute transportation is scheduled to get you to your destination more than 2 hours later, 4 hours internationally, or if the airline does not make any substitute travel arrangements for you, the compensation doubles. 400% of your one-way fare, $1,300 maximum. Edit: when a flight is overbooked they come over the PA and start handing out a few $100 vouchers and put you on the next flight. If you take one of these vouchers you have voluntarily given up your seat. If no one takes them the first round, they keep on going up in voucher amounts. But eventually if no one takes them they're going to have to involuntarily bump people off the plane. If this happens to you make sure you follow above rules. Personally in my experience I had a SWA flight from Phoenix to Chicago on 12/23 at 10 AM. They came over the PA offering a $300 voucher and a spot on the next flight. I had nothing special to do except hang out with family so I took it and they put me on the 12 PM flight 30 minutes before boarding that flight. The same thing happens. Well, I'll take another $300 and they put me on the 3 PM flight. Guess what? It happens again, but this time they gave me $500 and I'm on the 6 PM flight. And you guessed it, They asked for volunteers again and I got another $500 and now I'm on the 8 PM flight. So I spent a day in the airport and sampled all the great dining options at Sky Harbor and ended up with $1,600 in SWA credits to use over the next year. Was able to go on 3 trips with my girlfriend without paying for flights. Moving forward, if I ever travel before Thanksgiving or Christmas, I'm booking the earlier flight and racking up the vouchers. Edit 2. If your flight is cancelled due to weather or mechanical issues, you are sole except them getting you on the next available flight. Flights are frequently cancelled when there isn't enough seats sold, and most of the time the airlines say it was a mechanical problem so they don't have to give you anything. I've done that with SWA before. Visited my boyfriend. Flight back, I volunteered for the $300 and free night in a nice hotel since the next flight wasn't scheduled until the following day. Used the voucher for my next visit to see him. Flight home from that visit gets delayed. Stranded at 1 AM in Chicago. Another $300 and free night in hotel. A year later, use the voucher. SWA funded my long distance relationship. Former Dunkin' employee here. We don't check the survey codes at the bottom of your receipt. Any random 5 digits in the space, you've got a free donut with purchase. At Subway, my manager never once bought real mayonnaise. The light mayo and the real mayo are both light mayo. Investigate those fuckers. This is the shadiest scandal associated with Subway I've ever heard. As call center employee, I can assure you that all of our calls are recorded not for training purposes, but to protect our own asses. Patient confidentiality just means your name isn't in the story, not that your story won't get told. Not sure if this is an industry practice, but a very popular online retail company in my country has no in-house web designers or any other IT staff beyond your generic networking techs. Anytime their website or backend systems need work, they simply advertise a permanent position and give the job of sorting out whatever they need done as a trial for the candidate. Once completed, they then inform them that the position is no longer available and send them on their way. They've been doing this for years. The best way to deal with a request like that from a web company is to install a shutdown code into the software you are creating that automatically turns the software off or deletes it once a certain date is passed. If they hire you, you just remove the switch and proceed as normal. If they are just looking to screw you, they'll pull the fast one and be shitting their pants once it all goes kapoof. Protect your work. Edit. I'm getting a lot of PMs screaming that this is illegal, and I think the issue here is that this is being viewed different ways. In my part of the world, if you are giving someone a trial, they are submitting work as a sample. It is not expected to be used and should only be used to evaluate their skill. It seems that in other parts of the world the phrase trial is part of their probationary period that would be part of initial 60, 90 or 120 days of their hiring period so that the company can properly evaluate their work while paying them to do so. In no uncertain terms should you consider installing time bombs or kill switches into your code while people are paying you for your work. To clarify for everyone reading, I am simply referring to work that is submitted as a sample. Not work that you have been paid for or are receiving a salary for. Ever done an online insurance quote? That's just a slightly watered down version of what your insurance agent is working with. Seriously. We just put in the info and the computer spits out a price. Unless coverage or rating information changes, the price you get is what you get. 20-30 years ago, an agent could tell you how much different rating factors impacted the price, etc. Today's agents aren't privy to any of that information. TLDR, insurance agents don't just pull the price out of their asses and hope you'll take it. The computer does that for us. If you have a Bank of America credit or debit card, and your card gets declined and you call and find out it was because of a data breach, the fraud department that you speak to is forced by the bank to tell you that they can't see where or when the data breach occurred, but we can see it. It shows us right there on our computer. It's really fucking annoying for everyone involved, other than the bank apparently, since they're the ones that enforce this. It's a major problem because your card gets completely shut off right there over the phone, and we have to send in a request to have a completely new card and card number sent to you. Then, you wait about 2 weeks to receive it in the mail, and have to change everything you pay your bills onto the new card number. But if you go back to the store with that new card that had the data breach and they still haven't resolved the problem with the breach, then your card will be shut off again. Rinse and repeat. Please try not to get too angry at the people you talk to on the phone. They don't work at BOA, they're just lowly call center workers, and they're fired if tell you where it happened. The bank is saving their own ass to not piss off big companies that don't want that info to leak to the public. It feels like it shouldn't be a secret, but a lot of people just don't get it. If you find yourself waiting forever to be seen in the ER, that's probably a very good thing. We get the serious stuff back there pretty dang quick. Edit. For clarity's sake, a whole lot of pain doesn't automatically make something serious. A broken arm or something hurts like hell, but we're going to take the guy who's sweating and says his chest feels a little tight before you. Because he might be dying and you definitely aren't. The more blood, the quicker you'll be seen. If you're actively bleeding all over the floor when you walk in, you'll probably be seen immediately. I walked into the ER the other day, after cutting my foot pretty bad. I was losing blood pretty fast, couldn't stop it, so I raced to the ER. The front desk lady didn't even look up and said, "Please fill out this form and take a seat." I said, "Mom, I'm bleeding everywhere. I can't stop it. Do you have any towels?" She very quickly jumped up and called a nurse for help. I was swiftly taken back and treated immediately, with several people in the waiting room. I still feel really bad about bleeding all over their pristine white floors. It was pretty gnarly. From a pharmacy perspective, most people don't understand how dietary supplements are regulated by the FDA. They are basically special food, not a drug. So you know all that safety and efficacy testing the FDA requires before a drug can even get to the market? Yeah, that doesn't happen with dietary supplements. They are held to a much lower safety standard than drugs. When do they get pulled off the shelves? When they are proven and safe through use in the public. Also, they sometimes contain prescription ingredients. Libido-enhancing dietary supplements routinely are found to contain derivatives of sildenafil, Viagra, and other similar drugs. That sounds great and all to some people, but many men seeking these unproven OTC enhancers are on nitrates for chest pain, which could prove to be a very significant drug interaction causing a big drop in blood pressure from widespread vasodilation. Basically, dietary supplements aren't under the same scrutiny that drugs are, and most people think if it made it to the shelf it must be safe. That's not true. Merlin Entertainments, the company that runs a wide variety of midway attractions like Legoland Discovery Centers as well as Legoland itself, pays most of their American employees less than Walmart. Oftentimes, employees love the job, but ultimately can't afford to keep it. This causes a near 90% turnover rate. Grocery store bakeries do not bake the cakes they decorate. That stuff comes in frozen. I can't bake you a carrot cake. On top of that, most of the baking in grocery store bakeries is just pulling frozen pastries or muffins or whatever out of a box and panning it up, then putting it in the proofer oven. We don't really make things anymore. Edited for politeness. I've found you can also ask the vendor how much it would cost to ensure I walk away with a given prize for my daughter. Then I just pay, let her play, and we still win regardless. Edit. Since people will take any reason to accuse others of being shitty parents, I actually only did this once, but the entire fair was doing this for any parent smart dumb delinquent enough to ask. The kid still got to play the game, and in my case, at least, my kid wasn't hopeless nor did she fully understand whether she'd done enough to win the prize she wanted. She made 2 baskets and got the prize she wanted. She should have made 5, but it wasn't posted anywhere and she certainly thought she'd earned it herself, as far as I know. Please, feel free to continue to tell me how I'm letting my kid down by eliminating competition, but please remember you're talking about a carnival game that's intentionally rigged to make it almost impossible for people to win. Then, if you keep wanting to tell me what a shitty dad I am, go right ahead and punch yourself in the crotch. I work in the trucking industry and it's frightening how much food product is sold and resold after being rejected. Had a customer have a load of cheese refuse because it was too warm, but took it back to another warehouse, cooled it down and resold it to another customer. I have seen it done with cheese, juice, meat and seafood. Only seen it done about 4-5 times out of 10,000 plus loads I have moved, but that is still too high. Hospitals and doctors' office bills in the US can be negotiated, and many will offer huge cash discounts if you pay at the time of service. But once the insurance gets billed, there is much less room for negotiation. If your bill gets applied to the insurance deductible, then the facility, by law, is supposed to collect the full amount that was applied to the deductible from you. Also, if there's a copay, the facility, by law, is supposed to collect that as well. For the average person on a high deductible plan, $1,000 plus, you'd have to get cancer, or be in a huge trauma for the insurance to kick in any meaningful payment. Insider advice: when you make an appointment at a doctor's office, ask if they have a point of service discount. Also, if you go to a hospital, don't let them know you have insurance until after they give you the bill. Do the negotiation first, then do the math and see if it's cheaper to pay out of pocket. If not, the facility has 6 months to bill your insurance after the date of service. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.